No, here we go again. um, well, I'm sure that you've read the title. You know what this is going to be about. I have my channel goes in these cycles where all of a sudden I'll get a whole bunch of criticism about what I'm talking about because who am I and what am I talking about and everything. I mean, first of all, yes, the entire channel is basically a glorified vlog. Facts. And that was the point. I started it over a decade ago because um, there were a lot of people at the time that had avoidant personality disorder and didn't really know what it meant and didn't have any real way of figuring it out. I mean, we had this clinical definition that was in the DSM saying these are the possible things that can lead to it. It didn't explain how you got the diagnosis. It didn't explain that, you know, it was a matter of degrees that you know, it didn't explain that it was normal, that something like 2% of the population has it. I mean, that's pretty normal. That is not extraordinarily unique. That is not 1 in 1 billion. That's quite a few people have it, unfortunately. Um, and all we had was this really clinical definition of what it was. We had the recommendation that everybody do CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, which actually almost across the board, everybody I've talked to that really has avoidant personality disorder, doesn't work for them. It actually backfires because it makes you think about these things that are, that caused you to have the trauma in the first place. They have avoidant personality disorder, and because people with avoidant personality disorder have extra sticky neural pathways, it reinforces them. Rather, it does the exact opposite of what it's supposed to do, which is supposed to be that you're supposed to say, see, really, it's a little different from how you remember it. Well, it doesn't really matter. We can rewire it in our brain, but the original pathways are still there. So it actually just makes those worse. It makes those ruts deeper. It's not cool. Um, yeah. So I talk about things that I think are confronting to people with avoidant personality disorder because, especially if you're new at it. Now, so I mean, I'm extremely advanced. You know, I've had the diagnosis. I don't know, what, 15 years at least. Um, I just turned 54. Yeah, I'm old. Um, which means I've had it for 30 odd years. Because again, you can't be diagnosed as a teenager. You have to have it extend beyond normal teen angst. So I don't know exactly when the cutoff is for when you can officially have it, but I mean, I've been living with it for, say, over 40 years, really, because, yeah, I don't remember a time when I wasn't like this. So anyway, um, I'm just trying to say, hey, this is a real life example of how life works when you have this. And, you know, first of all, there's, I don't even want to know, I don't want to do the math of how many different variations of um, people with avoidant personality disorder there are in the world. I know for an absolute fact that there's a couple of really extreme um, sort of polar opposite varieties. And among them is the people like me who can feel comfortable around strangers and very, very under the thumb of people who they know in their life. And then the people who are the opposite, where they're only um, comfortable around like safe people, like their family, even if their family was the one that was the trigger, was the abusive, traumatic causing people. Um, it still that feels like that's the only safe people that they can be around. And so if they're not around them, if they're just around strangers, then they have the extreme avoidant reaction. Um, and yet, now I'm finally, how long am I into this video? 5 minutes? Oh yeah. So disclaimer for 5 minutes, and let's get to the meat of it. What I want to talk about is what's called a third place when it comes to people with avoidant personality disorder. And I'm really surprised. I mean, I feel like I've just talked about it, but I don't think I have. Maybe I think I've talked about it to people in my real life. And I'm really surprised if there aren't videos about it, but I bet there aren't. Not specifically about this. So, a third place, I think this is a really recent term. Definitely wasn't around when I was growing up. A third place is a place other than your house or your work or school where you can be around people and be social. Okay, so that's probably just turned off a whole lot of people. But here's the thing. People with avoidant personality disorder long to have relationships, but feel like they can't. They feel like they're sort of not eligible for it. They feel like they can't do it, but they really long to have people in their life. This is sort of like, I mean, there are definitely more differences and subtleties, but this is the broad strokes difference between somebody with avoidant personality disorder and somebody with schizoid personality disorder. Schizoid people are just like, yeah, no, no, I want to be a hermit. Goodbye, no. And people with avoidant personality disorder are not wanting, they can't be with people, but they want to be with people. They want to have relationships. Um, so, and a lot of people get sort of like they blur the line between avoidant personality disorder and agoraphobia. Agoraphobia is not avoidant personality disorder. Avoiding people is not avoidant personality disorder. That's either agoraphobia or depression. I mean, you can have them also, but that is not avoidant personality disorder. So, yes, people with avoidant personality disorder also need to have third places. So, what does that look like? For average people, that looks like, I don't know, hanging out at the mall or going to parks and like talking to people or going to bars. Especially if you become a regular. Like, oh my God, I can't imagine. But that's like really common. People do that. People with avoidant personality disorder, I think less common. Not saying they don't. I feel in my gut that there are people with avoidant personality disorder who are extroverted, and that sucks. That really sucks. That I ugh. So what does it look like? Back before I had my diagnosis, when I was thinking I was uniquely bizarre and a broken human being, that there was nobody like me, that I was just as wrong could be, because I had been told that for years. I used to go drive to, I don't want to say like, I mean, okay, so where I live now, it would be like touristy type places. Um, when I lived in the city, it was usually a university, where basically there were people mulling about outside, walking around. And I would literally say, I'm going to go get a hit off of people, which is a really weird way of putting it. Again, this was before I had my diagnosis. But that's the terminology I would use, because that's what it was to me. It was a way for me to um, sort of have a very, very safe, um, very non-confrontational kind of interaction of a sort. I mean, because I wasn't interacting, I was going through places in a safe, because usually I was in a car too. So I wasn't even walking through the crowds of people. I was just driving by the people. Very, very safe. Um, that that is a classic third space, for people with avoidant personality disorder. I know somebody. Sorry if I'm using examples from real life, but I know somebody who pretty regularly um, takes very long walks, like the entire lunch break, like an hour long midday walking through town, um, as a break from work, and usually doesn't want to interact with people, wants to get away from people. That's kind of the point. Definitely somebody that's on the other spectrum from me, which is there are safe people and then there are strangers, and strangers are really bad. Um, and yet gets out of work and goes for a walk. And I mean, it is technically a third space. It's actually, um, it works the same way and the opposite way, which is to get away from the non safe people at work. And you're distracted more or less by the other people, and you're outside, and it is a space that is, it's a safe space. Like for me, even though I um, feel more comfortable around strangers, for me, walking the same route, that would freak me out. Driving the same route, fine, because I really am totally separated from people. I'm not going to be interacting with anybody. I mean, this is what I mean. It's subtle, it changes, and everybody has this. I know somebody who, this is really, I mean, okay, uh, my gut is to judge, but that's not it, really. I mean, my it's not really a judgment per se. It's more like I feel like I need to explain, excuse, and apologize for everything and anything that exists in the entire universe. But I know somebody who, of course, has the safe space within the house. That's the other thing, is a lot of people, I know I've talked about this before, a lot of people in their household have like an inner sanctum that is safer than the rest of the house. And usually, you never have anybody from outside the household and usually a lot of times you don't even have anybody from within the household in the inner sanctum. But I know somebody who has another space on their property, um, that more or less nobody in the household ever goes in there. So it's like it's a second sanctum at home. I would consider that a third space because it is at home, but it's not in the home. It's not like the bedroom or whatever. It's a place to even escape from um, the family. I'm pretty sure that person has the same orientation I have, which is even if it's your family that you love, um, and even if they're not the ones who created the trauma, you are traumatized in a way that, family is not safe. Even if you adore them, even if you would die for them, family is still not safe for you. So you need to have another space that the rest of your family is not going to go to. That's a third space. um, I have been having pretty good stress at work. I've talked about a lot. I mean, it is settling down. It is still pretty stressful. Um, it really was as easy a transition as possibly it could have been. Um, I mean, it helps the way the universe is working right now. Any kind of job is kind of difficult. Any job that consists of depending on people making purchases right now is kind of difficult. But whatever. Um, as completely insane as it might be to anybody watching. See, again, that's that same sort of judgment type thing. I'm judging myself. I'm expecting to get feedback saying, "You're crazy, girl." Um, I found a new safe space for me, a new third space for me. It is definitely not work. It is definitely not home. Um, and it's not even like a gym. It is literally a place where, um, I mean, lots of social people. I mean, well, lots of. I mean, that's one of the reasons I like it is because it's usually pretty empty. Um, but people go there basically to hang out and relax. That's what they do. This is an almost a well, it's a good hour and a half drive from my house. So I get to be in the car. For me, I mean, being in a car is kind of like a third space um, for me because I'm enclosed. Um, kind of, but I'm not interacting with people at all. So it's not quite got that. I mean, that's the thing. The third space is about interacting in a way, in a safe way with people so that you can sort of relax that anxiety that you've got going on to be around people that people with avoidant personality disorder have without actually triggering yourself. That's what makes it great. Um, so it could be, I was saying, oh yeah, people, I don't know what they do. They go to a park and talk to people. Well, going to a park and going for a walk through the park and not talking to people can be a third space. Um, that could work for somebody with avoidant personality disorder. Um, or multiple parks. Um, for a while there, I was doing something like that. I keep saying, sorry. I'm trying really hard not to apologize and defend everything I'm saying. Um, but I was going to parks that were pretty, pretty good chance they were going to be empty. Like really good chance. We're talking like 99+% chance that there would be no people there, but there could be people there. And so just the knowledge that there could be somebody there, I had the same effect as going like, and being around people. And it's weird. It's hard to explain. But I think that, okay, first of all, if you overthink the third space of exactly what is a perfect one for you, how does it, how is this going to work in your life? Is it going to be giving you the hit of being around people without triggering you to exactly the precise degree? No, I think this is a trial and error type of thing. I actually think that most people with avoidant personality disorder are already doing it. And I think if you're not finding the third space, that it's going to contribute to depression. Um, so, and I'm not saying, okay, that's secure, go be around people and that will cure you. But it might. It will, I think, as it sounds so counterintuitive, it sounds completely crazy. I have avoidant personality disorder. I don't want to be around people. I can't be around people. I'm compelled to not interact with people. Go be around people. Go in spaces where there are people. Um, I know somebody who goes to coffee shops, and I don't mean goes to the coffee shop down the street. I mean goes just like me, like hours away to go to um, a new coffee shop and then can relax and have a coffee and doesn't ever want to repeat, doesn't ever want to repeat. But in general, it's like a new coffee shop is a safe space that is not work, that is not home, and there will be people there. That is a third space. Um, if you can go to bars, go for it. That's amazing. Um, it's not okay. It's not like, I think to some degree, if you're so sort of stuck in your house, it could be going grocery shopping, but usually not. And the reason is one, because you're doing a job there. You're not just like relaxing. This is part of the thing is it's a relaxation kind of thing. You have a task to do, so it's kind of like work. Um, but also, if it seems to me that if you aren't able to get out and about at all, that grocery shopping is actually pretty stressful. Um, so that's not going to help you relax. You've got a task. You're not relaxing. Yeah, you're around people. Doesn't count. Um, so what I am suggesting, because again, I try to give tips on how to improve your life if you have avoidant personality disorder. What I would suggest is look in your life about times when you are, I guess it's possible that the internet could also be a third space, virtual third space. But um, I think being out in the world is actually better. Um, I really do. And I wish I could explain that easier, more precisely, in a way that would make sense. I think the internet is different entirely, and it's like the fourth space. Um, but see what you ever do, ever, to go do something out in the world where there are going to be people, where you're not task oriented in any way, shape, or form. It could be you're commuting on a train or a bus to work, and that could be the third space. That could work if you can not, if it's somehow causing you to be slightly less anxious than more anxious, it counts. So find a third space and sort of lean into it, and um, acknowledge it for what it is, that, okay, this is not work, this is not home, and I'm just going to exist in this space and let myself be around people, and maybe I'll interact with them, but probably I won't, and that's all okay. And see how that is working for you. That if it's more positive than negative, then that's good. And you don't necessarily have to do more of it if you've already got something. If it's really working, then yeah, do more of it. Um, go more often. Um, but being aware and sort of, I don't want to say like labeling it, but more like just being aware that this is another space that you can go to and not necessarily interact with people, but be around people, and it's not work and it's not home, and it's okay. Um, that's where you start, and then once you get past the okay, then it becomes sort of a relief, and it actually will, again, if you start getting the extreme stress, I mean, you can use the extreme stress if you're like super lonely and stressed out from it. You can use that like I just did, and change your job, or get a person in your life, or whatever it is you need. You can use that anxiety, let it build to the point where you can actually make a change in your life. But if you don't need to make a change in your life, if you don't want to make a change in your life, the way to sort of calm some of the anxiety of being away from people when there's a part of you that wants to be with people, it's a third space. So be aware of it. Like, finding it is not like, I'm going to go and like hang out at the library now and like be really awkward because I'm not usually there and I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, that would just come off as creepy. Um, it's usually something in a place that you already go to. Like, I go to the library often, and I am in and out of the library. Zip, zip, zip. I try to be in the library for less than 5 minutes. It is not a third space that works for me. I don't know why. It should, but it isn't. Um, I don't know. I don't know why it doesn't work for me. It worked for somebody else, I'm sure. Um, but yeah, be aware of it. Be aware of what works in your life. Be aware if you do something different and it is kind of comfortable. Like, just be aware of it and keep a list of places that you can go when you're starting to get out of your head, that you really need to get out and be in the world, and you can't because there's people there and you might have to talk to them. If you've got a list of places that you can go where you don't really have to interact with people, but you are around people so that scratches that itch, that is the third space for you. And that's great. And keep that in your back pocket, because it can be really helpful to have someplace like that, to exist in. And again, I'm calling it third space, which is a really trendy term. I mean, it is what it is by definition, but it's not what the extroverts are calling the third space. You don't need to do that. Do your own third space. Find your own third space, and like, celebrate it. That you've got this thing that you can use to relieve that stress of being by yourself when you, in your gut, want to be with people but just can't. you know and again, you don't have to go there for long. Even though I'm doing this crazy drive, I mean, I think the last time I hung out, I think I was there for 45 minutes. So I drove for an hour and a half, stayed for 45 minutes, drove another hour and a half home. um and I talked to one person, and it was literally like somebody found something and they were like, "Hey, did you drop this?" And I said, "No, that was it. That was my entire interaction, like actually verbally talking to somebody at all in the entire time." It's pretty awesome. Um, Hopefully you can find some place that you can go, "Oh, wow, yeah, that's a really good fit for me. That was pretty awesome." You can do that too. Talk to you next week.